My wife Jill and I were driving home from a friend's party late one evening in early May. It was a beautiful night with a full moon. We were laughing and discussing the party when the engine started to cough and the emergency light turned on. We had just reached the railroad crossing where Hollow Road becomes Meadow Road. According to local legend, this was the place where a school bus full of children had stalled on the tracks. Everyone on board the bus had been killed by an oncoming freight train. The ghosts of the children were reported to haunt this intersection and were said to protect people from danger. Not wanting to repeat a train crash, I hit the gas pedal, trying to get our car safely across the tracks before it broke down completely. But the dad-blamed car wouldn't cooperate. It stalled dead center on the railroad tracks. As if that weren't enough, the railroad signal started flashing and a bright light appeared a little ways down the track, bearing down fast on our car. I turned the key and hit the gas pedal, trying to get the car started. "Hurry up, Jim, the train's coming," my wife urged, as if I didn't hear the train horn blowing a warning. I broke out into a sweat and tried the engine again. Nothing. "We have to get out," I urged my wife, reaching for the door handle. "I can't," Jill said desperately. She was struggling with her seatbelt. We'd been having trouble with it recently. She'd been stuck more than once, and I had to help her get it undone. I threw myself across the stick shift and fought with the reluctant seatbelt. My hands were shaking, and sweat poured down my body as I felt the rumble of the approaching train. It had seen us and was whistling sharply. I risked a quick glance over my shoulder. The engineer was trying to slow down, but he was too close to stop before he hit us. I redoubled my efforts. Suddenly, the car was given a sharp shove from behind. Jill and I both gasped, and I fell into her lap as the car started to roll forward, slowly at first, then gaining speed. The back end cleared the tracks just a second before the train roared past. As the car rolled to a stop on the far side of the tracks, the engineer stuck his head out of the window of the engine and waved a fist at us, doubtless shouting something nasty at us for scaring him. That was close," Jill gasped as I struggled upright. "How did you get the car moving?" "I didn't," I said. "Someone must have helped us." I jumped out of the door on the driver's side of the car and ran back to the tracks to thank our rescuer. In the bright moonlight, I searched the area, looking for the person who had pushed our car out of the path of the train, but there was no one there. I called out several times, but no one answered. After a few minutes of struggling with her seatbelt, Jill finally freed herself and joined me. "Where is he?" she asked. "There is no one here," I replied, puzzled. "Maybe he's just shy about being thanked," Jill said. She raised her voice. "Thank you, whoever you are," she called. The wind picked up a little, swirling around us, patting our hair and our shoulders like the soft touch of a child's hand. I shivered and hugged my wife tightly to me. We had almost died tonight, and I was grateful to be alive. "Yes, thank you," I repeated loudly to our mystery rescuer. As we turned back to our stalled vehicle, I pulled out my cell phone, ready to call for a tow truck. Beside me, Jill stopped suddenly, staring at the back of our car. "Jim, look," she gasped. I stared at our vehicle. Scattered in several places across the back of our car were several glowing handprints. They were small handprints, the kind that adorned the walls of elementary schools all over the country. I started shaking as I realized the truth. Our car had been pushed off the tracks by the ghost of the school children killed at this location. The wind swept around us again, and I thought I heard the echo of a child whispering, "You're welcome," as it patted our shoulders and arms. Then the wind died down, and the handprints faded from the back of our car. Jill and I clung together for a moment, in terror and delight, knowing that both our lives were spared that night because of the children. And in that moment, we were eternally grateful. It was midnight, and there was a full moon. John and Mark set the recorder on the crumbling tombstone and scanned the darkened cemetery with their flashlights. There wasn't a sign of any caretaker, and given the state of the rundown cemetery, they didn't expect to see one. "Turn it on and let's begin," John said. Mark flipped the recorder switch on, and John began asking questions out loud. "Is there anyone with us tonight?" Silence filled the night, except for a slight scratch from somewhere behind the tombstone. Unfazed, John asked the next question. "Can you tell us your name?" Again, the only sound was a slight scratch. "Can you show yourself?" Again, just a slight scratch from behind the tombstone. "Are you afraid of us?" John asked. This time there was no scratch, but the atmosphere suddenly seemed to thicken. Neither young man noticed a towering dark shadow rising from behind the tombstone until it was too late. The darkness swooped down and engulfed John and Mark. They were never seen again. The next morning, when the old caretaker showed up, he found the boy's recorder laying on a tombstone. He turned it on, and in the silence that followed each of John's questions, you can now hear the following replies spoken softly by a deep and menacing voice. "Yes, I am always here. My name is never spoken by your kind, but it is very old. I'll show myself, but it is the last thing you'll ever see. You are mine." The caretaker quietly pocketed the recorder, looking around to assure himself that he was truly alone. He took the only evidence that anyone had been near that particular tombstone again, and he tossed it in the pile with the rest in the tool shed.